Hi there, this is the August Tarot, and I hope you're doing well wherever you are in this world. Summer is really passing quickly here. We're already at the end of July, beginning of August, and hopefully we're past the worst of the heat waves. I hope you're past them too. The questions that caught my attention this month were varied, but most had to do with the future, especially the data centers, the environment, relationships between people and their government. So let's begin. So the questions are, number one, given the shortage of water in several areas of the US, what is the future of data centers? Question number two, what do the cards have to say regarding the diminishing trust between people and their governments? Number three, what do the cards have to say about the contradictions between environmentalists and the need for more oil refineries, chemical plants, metal refineries, and other crucial infrastructure needed for a self-sufficient country? And number four, what is the conversation the people of Earth should be having about their future? The cards drawn were, number one, the Four of Pentacles. Number two, the Judgment card. That's a big one. Number three, the Page of Pentacles. And number four, the Ten of Wands. It's like, uh-oh, something's over. So let's look a little more deeply here. Question number one, given the shortage of water in several areas of the US, what is the future of data centers? And the card drawn here was the Four of Pentacles, which carries a challenging message. Challenge. This is a card that encourages the full development of our abilities and talents in order to put them into service and make the world a better place. It urges every individual to develop himself or herself in order to discover the material magic that is waiting inside each of us. So since we are asking about data centers, and these structures are necessary if we want to fully use artificial intelligence, this card is saying, go ahead and build them. But the message that accompanies the encouragement to build them is full of cautions and tasks. When you look at the card, you see a lone figure sitting on a cement block, big square cement block, with a large city in the background. He wears a black mantle and an eggplant-colored robe. There are two pentacles lying on the ground in front of him, and the figure has 1 foot on each pentacle. He looks like he's like slightly hunched over, a third pentacle held in front of his breast, and a fourth pentacle rests on top of a crown on his head. The entire ground and the entire sky are gray. So that figure sitting on the cement block symbolizes the data centers and the block or obstacle in the way of building them. That big gray block also symbolizes a chopping block and controversy, because cement symbolizes seeing something we are meant to do. Cement. Seeing something we are meant to do. So this refers to building the data centers, which will further AI, which will then free us up to focus on the development of consciousness in a better world, instead of having to spend all of our time attending to the many physical tasks, details, and decisions that come with life in a physical reality. The black mantle he wears symbolizes the unknown world, waiting to be born. But that eggplant-colored robe represents the digestive system, muck, feces, and waste products. A digestive system allows us to take in something that is foreign to the body and refine it into something useful that the body can use. It is the epitome of transformational change. Digestion is the epitome of transformational change. Are we ready to change in a way that breaks down our old ways and refines them into something useful? Something that supports the whole body of humanity? Have we thought about how to handle the muck and the waste products? Not enough water is big muck for everyone. Do we need to stop the data centers just long enough to develop our ability to produce a plentiful supply of water for all? We are already producing jet fuel from carbon dioxide and hydrogen. See the June 2026 look-see for a little more information on that. Anyway, why not stop and figure out how to produce water, then move ahead with the data centers? The figure has pentacles at his feet, his heart, and on top of his head. This symbolizes that there are 3 ways of working with the proposed data centers and 3 levels of outcome that must be considered when building those data centers. The 2 pentacles on the ground symbolize a flat, dull, head in the sand approach to the whole question of data centers and water. They warn of difficulties due to failure to grasp the great changes that would result if we build them. The fact that those 2 pentacles are on the ground indicates that data centers may never get off the ground because related problems have not been solved. The pentacle at the heart points to a need to add a heart-based position and compassion to any deals involving data centers. Money, power, or even just excitement about the future possibilities are not enough when it comes to thinking and planning. The heart and compassion would add immeasurably to the total outcome around AI, the data processing it requires, and the benefits to civilization. And that pentacle at the head symbolizes the mastery of the entire complex of challenges and hints that more than just AI and data centers are involved here. Since our question includes the water shortage problem, it's likely that we might discover something very important about water, water quality, the composition of water, or how to produce plentiful amounts for both us and data centers. The crown on the figure's head symbolizes success in that endeavor, dealing with the whole complex, and the ability to implement the great power of AI if we deal with the entire set of challenges wisely and well. The enthusiastic response of people to AI's ability to help with every aspect of life says we need to see it and include it as a practical addition to life. But the gray ground and the gray sky on this card point to a need to detach from any sense of hurry up, get it built, that sort of hurry. It warns of a biased and unconscious approach to the issue rather than an approach based on possibilities or a desire to do things in a way that produces spectacular results. The large city in the background points to the fact that many, many people, especially those in cities, will be affected by how we deal with data center questions. And wisely, right now, many people are speaking up saying, wait a minute, what about the water? Pentacles are the suit of the earth and the material world. Pentacles encourage development, evolution, multiplying one's talents and harvesting the fruits of those talents in the form of wealth and money, fame, security, satisfaction, and better lives. And the Four of Pentacles says that we have evolved to the point of enough stability to develop artificial intelligence. And this will open a pathway to further evolution. However, in order to evolve and grow in wisdom, grace, and power, it says we need a broader vision of what we're doing, what we can accomplish, where we're going, and what we can become. Data centers are not enough. They are only the seed. Is the sudden shortage of water a message that says we can't go any further until we have a more comprehensive vision and ensure that related needs are handled wisely? The government may have an idea of what it wants to do with data centers, but is that our vision? We may have delays in the building of data centers until we come up with our own vision and have dealt with a much broader and more prudent set of challenges than we originally thought. The Four of Pentacles is known as the Lord of Earthly Power, and its keywords are talents, mastery, practical, self-determination, the power of wealth, force, fight, structure, limits, delay, duty, obstacle, joining together, and manifest. Question number 2. What do the cards have to say about the diminishing trust between people and their governments? All the other cards drawn this month were from the minor arcana, indicating serious but manageable issues to be resolved. But the card drawn here was the Judgment card, number 20 in the major arcana, indicating that our question brings up a major structural and institutional issue in our lives. The Judgment card says that it is time to draw the line and decide whether our government is trustworthy. It also says that this issue has very strong forces associated with it. So let's look at this a little more deeply. When you look at the card, you see a half dozen naked people with gray skin standing in caskets that are floating on the water. They have their arms raised as if in supplication or welcome, and they are looking upward at a large angel resting above the clouds and blowing a trumpet in the sky. The trumpet has 7 lines of frequency coming out of it. The angel has tongues of fire in its hair. It also has large red wings that extend off the edges of the card, and a white banner with a red cross is hanging from the trumpet. There are a few blue trees in the background, blue mountains that look like they are topped with white, maybe snow, and the sky is bright blue. Our question here centers on a relationship, and the gray people are a symbol that trust in the relationship has died. The fact that the people are naked symbolizes that this is something that can no longer be covered up or hidden. The caskets also symbolize the death of trust and point to needs and issues that were neither fulfilled nor resolved. The people have their arms raised in what looks like supplication, but they're looking up at the angel in response to the trumpet call. And this represents a mass awakening taking place, a response to a higher call. The angel has blonde hair, which is a symbol of the light. and there are tongues of fire in its hair. Hair is the symbol of thinking and thought, moving thinking and thought to the light. And the tongues of fire symbolize that the call to awaken is fiery, filled with passion and change, a call to move into the light. Those large red wings symbolize new possibilities for people and the way they relate to their governance systems. But because the wings extend off the edges of the card, this tells us that we cannot see or imagine anything other than what we currently have. Going to have to get that imagination in gear. The clouds below the angel represent cloudy perception that also interferes with being able to see ways to repair or reestablish the trust that is needed. And this results in an inability to do as the judgment card directs, which is to draw the line and make a decision. The trumpet has a white flag hanging from it, which symbolizes the need to surrender to the truth of the situation. It indicates that defending oneself from the reality is no longer possible. The cross on the flag represents several things. One is that we are at a crossroads, an intersection, and we need to choose a direction. Another is that there are tasks to be completed. The first task is to throw all of the skeletons out of the closet and say farewell to everything that came before. The second task is to leave or to separate from the current relationship with government, then reconnect and reconcile in a whole new kind of unity. The red color of that cross indicates that a great deal of passion and even anger has built up, and it would be wise to take action before there is an explosion. It tells us there will be a need for healing, and that some aspects of the former relationship between people and government may be worth rescuing, but only if they can be subject to complete openness, honesty, and truth. Trust cannot live without these partners: openness, honesty, and truth. There are 7 lines at the end of the trumpet, and these lines represent a range of frequencies that are meant to awaken sleeping potentials in everyone and bring what was dead back to life. In fact, the entire judgment card carries the message that it's time to return to paradise. And to do this, we must take on strong forces and use them to resolve and transform what has gone bad. The blue mountains with many peaks represent many challenges to overcome. And the white snow on top warns against being fooled or manipulated, being snowed, or distracted by empty promises. The bright blue sky points to a serious need for calmness, clarity, and an appreciation for our own power. This card also advises us, don't waste time on blame or fear, because this just leads to weary repetition where people grow old and die before seeing any kind of restoration. It says, let karma do its work. Don't try to do the work of karma. Judgment is linked to the planet Pluto, which does draw the line, and it divides relationships into before and after. It urges us, learn to forgive without forgetting, and to get on with clearing the dungeons of the past in order to bring about rebirth. It warns that it's time to face the consequences of awakening, let go, and build something with a firm foundation, or the universe will do it for us by burning away what no longer serves. Key words for the judgment card are change of position, renewal, death of relationship, lawsuits, reconciliation, deliberation, simplicity, assessment, forgiveness, a break in routine, mighty forces, guiding principles, time to mobilize, awakening, burying the dead properly, new dawn, and decision time. Question number 3. What do the cards have to say about the contradictions between environmentalists and the need for more oil refineries, chemical plants, metal refineries, and other infrastructure needed for a self-sufficient society or a self-sufficient country? And the card drawn here was the Page of Pentacles. And given our question, the message is quite wonderful. Once again, we have the Suit of Pentacles, which is all about the earth, wealth, material resources, and the civil society we have built. When you look at the card, you'll see a figure standing in an open meadow where flowers grow. He's wearing a green tunic, a red scarf, it's kind of an elaborate thing, and brown boots. He is reverently looking at a pentacle that he is holding with both hands. Nearby, there is a patch of recently plowed land with some trees in the distance and a blue mountain peak, and the sky is bright yellow. The page standing in the meadow represents the need to stand still, look deeply, carefully, intently at the society we have built and see or recognize how fragile it is. From the environmentalist point of view, we are destroying the very basis of our existence: the air, the water, the trees, soils, rivers, and landscapes that make life possible. From the industrialist point of view, if we refuse to build and operate oil refineries, chemical plants, metal refineries, and other sophisticated infrastructures, we will not be able to produce cars, gasoline, airplanes, ships, electricity, food, computers, books, radios and telephones, heating and air conditioning, or any of the other amazing things we use to make our way through the day. So where is the balance between these two positions? The green tunic worn by the page symbolizes the need for hope that issues can be resolved and some insight into natural living, a hint that we may be living somewhat unnaturally. The green color stands for freshness and lots of growth, but green also symbolizes the immaturity of youth and the lack of experience that leads to unanticipated problems. Since our question has to do with contradictions between the environment and the need to build crucial infrastructure that has a history of destroying the environment, that green tunic is pointing to unanticipated problems that we still have not dealt with. The brown boots point to the need for some heavy work in the form of redesigns, rebuilds, research, and rethinking the destruction of resources and the production of serious waste materials. The exaggerated red scarf worn by the figure is an ancient symbol of status, wealth, protest, and rebellion. That says it all. We can't allow a few wealthy people to build refineries and manufacturing plants that bring about protest and rebellion. We are smart. We're creative. We are very inventive people. We have the ability to avoid any kind of manufacturing problem. We have the ability to transform every bit of waste into something useful and to figure out how to do things without pollution or destructive side effects. We know how. Since we're trying to rebuild our manufacturing base right now, wouldn't this be a good time to implement that creativity and invent new processes for good outcomes? To say we can't afford it is baloney. The truth is that some people don't want to afford it, and that is no longer acceptable. The page in each of the suits, the page always symbolizes sovereignty, autonomy, and youthful energy. The same youthful energy needed to deal with some type of challenge. The challenge associated with the Page of Pentacles is how to handle the blending of nature and an advanced society. The page demands that we develop a masterly, innovative way of dealing with the earth and all of her forces. Nature has needs of her own, as does an advancing society. And the page encourages us to be productive and keep a hold of what is valuable and fruitful. And refineries and chemical plants are productive and fruitful. The building of huge refineries, chemical plants, and other infrastructure may not be a good idea if the impact of them poisons nature and adds to the difficulties of everyday living. Poisons and waste do not qualify as fruitful. So when making an effort to be productive and fruitful, we are asked to answer the question, what can you do with the material elements of Earth? What can we do? And once that question has been answered, it's followed by another question. If you can do those things, then should you do those things? This question, should you, is a step that carries a civilization into fourth and fifth dimensional operation. It is an ethical step that leaves behind the greedy, needy, victim-like attitude that comes from immature civilizations that fail to use power wisely, take responsibility for their results, and ensure health and well-being for all. If the goal of life is more money, then we will end up consuming the earth and ourselves in order to turn everything into money. Wasn't there a lesson about this from the story of King Midas? If the goal of life is beauty or a more expansive consciousness or a more advanced civilization, can we move in a direction that allows us to leave the earth alone long enough to let her heal while we create beauty and work in the fields of consciousness to turn ourselves into a golden race of advanced beings? The meadow landscape and the plowed ground symbolize the fact that there's a way to balance what is natural and what is needed for society. It hints that we can maintain the many wonderful things we have that make our life what it is and still preserve Mother Nature, but we may need to maintain these things in different proportions. I think right now it's about 95% humans and their stuff and 5% nature. Together, the meadow, the plowed ground, and the flowers symbolize the golden pathways of a life in balance. That blue mountain symbolizes the challenge of bringing heaven and earth together. In other words, creating a world of beauty, health, and balance. The trees in the background tell us that family has been shuffled to the background and may need to be reconnected. Although to do this, we would probably have to let go of the big goal of just making money, simply because money has been used to fracture family at every level. Money has a wonderful place in life, but it's quite destructive as the sole goal. To restore balance between our society and the environment, the Page of Pentacles demands begin the adventure of discovery and a new search for what is possible. He says, be productive, find something new, plant something, have an effect beyond yourself. He insists that each of us is a treasure chest of golden life, and it's time to open the treasure and spend it on life in ways that create beauty and balance in the environment and in our society. Success in this endeavor comes from reflection, getting centered, and focusing on what is truly important. Keywords for the Page of Pentacles are child, study, message, application of youthful energy, kind of like a can-do thing, abundance, benefit, self-reliance, hanging on to what is valuable, concentration, balance, treasure being born, streets of gold, reflection, passion, nature, goals, earth forces, and testing the limits. Question number 4. What is the conversation the people of Earth should be having about their future? And the card drawn here, the 10 of Wands, carries a clear and direct message that is really quite a wake-up call and a warning. It says, we cannot see the forest for the trees. The card shows a figure carrying a bundle of 10 large wands right in front of his face, while bent forward in a somewhat headlong posture as he walks toward a house in the distance. This symbolizes having too many worries, too many burdens and issues, and too many areas that need attention all at once without a let up in the pressures. The bent posture represents an inability or an unwillingness to let go of all the issues and difficulties, possibly because we are afraid to let go and face the unknown. If we're unable to set down the burdens long enough to see where things are leading, life becomes continuously more difficult. And the house, which symbolizes security and a feeling of having reached home safely, that house keeps receding into the distance. There's a light blue sky with no clouds above, symbolizing a need to look up, get clear, and evaluate our passions. The sky symbolizes heaven and the realm of consciousness. And we are to see that if we would just look up and look around, clarity would begin to return. We could make things better. The figure wears a reddish-brown tunic, which is the color of lessons around being tricked. Reddish-brown is the color of the fox, and it calls for personal development and being real. Fox also symbolizes a new world opening up and the need to decide if that is the world we want. The dirty yellow shoes and the dirty yellow earth represent dealing with a seriously distorted mix of light and dark motives, while being unclear about what our basic needs really are. So how can we sort out all the burdens and all the motives? That's really the task in front of us. We're going to have to let go of some things. Since our question is about the conversation we should be having about our future, the 10 of Wands says that Until we put down the load we've been carrying, we're not likely to have time for any kind of useful conversation. It points out that life has become too complex to do anything except carry the load we've taken on. It warns that this is the time for action, but how can we act without taking stock of where we are and what is needed? Then there is the fear of putting down the load. What if everything falls apart as soon as we set down the burdens in order to take a breath, focus on something reasonable, and generate some common sense that will guide us to accomplish it? Wands are about fire and passion, action and reaction. And this is the card of being overwhelmed, of coping with wily people and situations, and of being fooled by stories and perceptions designed to play tricks on us. There have been predictions of a Mad Max world if we stop and say, just a minute, where are we and where are we going? But if you step back and take an honest look at the current situation, it kind of looks like we may be living in a Mad Max world already, a life of enormous stress and chaos. The hysteria level keeps rising, and people are not having useful, helpful conversations. Stopping to set down the load and take a breath might reveal a quiet, slower world that we can work with successfully. Maybe we should put as much energy into slowing down as we're putting into the effort to deal with the chaos and stay afloat. The 10 of Wands says that we have burdened ourselves to the point of making life so difficult that no one is getting ahead. No one's getting anywhere, including those who think they have figured it all out. It states bluntly that we are completely on the wrong track because we've abdicated our own will and we're wasting our energy, or we've accepted all available energies and possibilities and we're using our consciousness to follow every single impulse and aim without any discernment or reflection. Wow. Talk about a gut punch. Maybe the conversation we could have should start with something simple like, do you want to meet for a coffee? Whatever we talk about, this card says that a solution will take 100% of our energy. The number 10 symbolizes the end of something and the beginning of something else. 10 is the number of too much, and it indicates a need to start over. It is the end stage of an era and the start of a new season, which is exactly where we are at. The 10 of Wands is known as the Lord of Oppression, and the key words are overfull, ending and transition, frankness and honesty, taking up one's cross, total effort required, wily people, cleverness, inner drives, mixed motives, unnecessary difficulty, letting go, and end result. So that's it for this tarot. Let's do a quick review of what we've covered. Question number 1 was, given the shortage of water in several areas of the U.S., what is the future of data centers? And the card drawn here was the 4 of Pentacles, which carries a challenging message. This is a card that encourages full development of our abilities and talents, which I think that's what AI represents, in order to put them into service and make the world a better place. It urges every individual to develop himself or herself in order to discover the material magic waiting inside each of us. But since we're asking about data centers and these structures appear to be necessary. If we want to fully use AI, this card is saying, go ahead and build them. But the message that accompanies the encouragement is full of cautions. Question number 2. What do the cards have to say regarding the diminishing trust between people and their governments? And the card drawn here was the Judgment card, number 20 in the Major Arcana, indicating that our question brings up a major structural and institutional issue in our lives. The Judgment card says it's time to decide whether or not our government is trustworthy. Our question here centers on a relationship between us and our government. And the gray people are a symbol that trust in the relationship has died. The fact that the people are naked symbolizes that this is something that can no longer be covered up or hidden. The card carries the message that it's time to bury the dead and return to a peaceful, settled world. Judgment, the Judgment card, is linked to the planet Pluto, which is willing to draw the line. It divides relationships into before and after. And it urges us to learn to forgive without forgetting and to get on with clearing the dungeons of the past in order to bring about rebirth. It warns that it's time to face the consequences of awakening. Let go and build something with a firm foundation, or the universe will do it for us by burning away what no longer serves. Question number 3. What do the cards have to say about the contradictions between environmentalists and the need for more oil refineries, chemical plants, metal refineries, and other infrastructure we need for a self-sufficient country? The card drawn here was the Page of Pentacles, and the message is really quite wonderful. Once again, we have the Suit of Pentacles, which is all about the earth and wealth, material resources, and the civil society we have built. The Page, standing in the meadow, represents the need to stand still and look deeply, carefully, intently at the social structures and lifestyles we have built, and to recognize how fragile they are. From the environmentalist point of view, we are destroying the very basis of our world. The air, the water, trees, soils, rivers, landscapes that make life possible. But from the industrialist point of view, if we refuse to build and operate oil refineries, chemical plants, metal refineries, and other sophisticated infrastructure, then we're going to destroy our lifestyle, because we won't be able to produce cars, gasoline, airplanes, ships, electricity, food, computers, books, radios, telephones, heating and air conditioning, or any of the other amazing tools we use to make our way through the day. Our challenge is to find the balance between these two positions so that we do not have to give up either of them. Question number 4, what is the conversation the people of Earth should be having about their future? This card, the 10 of Wands, carries a clear and direct message that is really a wake-up call and a warning. It says, we have burdened ourselves to the point of making life so difficult that no one is getting ahead, including those who think they have it figured out. It states bluntly that we are completely on the wrong track because we've abdicated our own will and we're wasting our energy. Or we have accepted all available energies and are using them to follow every single impulse and aim without any discernment or reflection. Since our question is about the conversation we should be having about our future, the 10 of Wands says that until we put down the load we've been carrying, we're not likely to have time for any kind of useful conversation. It points out that life has become too complex to do anything besides struggle with the load we've taken on. It warns that this is the time for action. But how can we act without stopping to take stock of where we are and what's needed? We need to deal with this. Maybe the conversation we could have should start with something simple like, do you want to meet for coffee? So that's it for this month. Thank you for listening. I hope the cards have given you some hope, some ideas, some insight into our future and what we need to do. Back in the 1960s, people used to say they were going to change the world, end war, bring love back, and clean up the planet. No one thought they would still be at it 60 years later. Things seem to be intensifying, so before they get too intense, take a break. Sit on the patio or the porch, enjoy the morning sun or the evening breeze, and I'll see you in September. Take care. Have a great month.